God of growth and becoming, expand what we have narrowed. Soften, dear God, what has hardened. Open us to what you are revealing now, not just what we remember from before. Amen and amen. Family, we have been walking through a worship series called Risky Business. We have watched Jesus cross boundaries. We have watched Jesus touch what others avoided. We have watched Jesus restore people that had been dismissed. Last week, Pastor B invited us into the risk of vulnerability, the courage to articulate what hurts, to name what is broken, and to admit where healing is needed. Vulnerability is risky. To speak your need aloud is to trust that someone will respond with care. But today, this Sunday, the risk shifts. Because sometimes the greater risk comes after vulnerability. It is the risk of growth. The risk that once you have changed, once that you've stepped into something new, the people who knew you before, they may not recognize who you are becoming. And that is where we meet Jesus. While I was in Philly a few years ago, I ran into someone, Daniel, that knew me from childhood. She came up to me and she gave me just the biggest, most wonderful hug in the world. And she smiled warmly and she said, "Oh, Kim, are you still doing that little church thing?" Kim, are you still doing that little church thing? And immediately, I cocked my head to the side, and inside my head, I said, "Little?" And I wanted to say, "Lady, I've been doing funerals and weddings. I've been walking with communities in a pandemic. I've spoken in front of thousands of people." Little. But I didn't say any of those things. I didn't say any of those things because her memory of me was that of that braces wearing, Jerry curl having 17-year-old. That's her memory of me. She wasn't wrong about who I had been. She simply hadn't accounted for growth. When someone fixes you in their memory, they often miss who you are becoming. And this is also where we find the people of Nazareth. In our text, Jesus returns home. Those same streets, same people, same neighbors, neighborhood, in the same synagogue. Jesus is teaching. And the text that we heard into our ear gates says that they are amazed until amazement turns into evaluation. They want to do a 360. They want to do a progress report on Jesus. Is this the carpenter? We heard the questions, right? Is that Mary's boy? Who is that? Don't we know his brothers and sisters? Because, people want to judge you by your family. They want to judge you by who are the company that you keep. Translation, we thought we knew. They don't deny the wisdom of Jesus. They question the source. They don't deny Jesus' power. They question the packaging. They had information, but they lacked openness. They remembered that boy, but could not receive that boy's calling. They knew a carpenter, but all the while heaven, the divine, is revealing the Christ. Not a different person, the same person, seen more clearly, the same body, carrying deeper authority, the same voice, but now speaking with a weight that they weren't prepared to recognize. The difference was not in Jesus, it was in their capacity to perceive him. And family, this pattern is not confined just to Nazareth. We see it now in our own time. Recently, a video circulated that portrayed President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama using imagery historically used to demean Black Americans. That imagery is racist. Did I say it? Okay. It draws from a long history of dehumanization of people, a history that sought to shrink Black folks, shrink the humanity of Black folks in order to justify harm. Racism begins with reduction. Racism begins with reduction. Transphobia begins with reduction. Xenophobia begins with reduction. Islamophobia begins with reduction. Criminalizing poverty begins with reduction. Them over there, or not in my backyard. It begins by collapsing someone's full humanity into something smaller. And we're also witnessing attempts in parts of our country to narrow or erase the teaching of Black history in Black History Month and beyond the year, removing books, limiting curricula to suggest certain stories are too uncomfortable. No. That's American history. And that too is reduction. When we shrink history, we shrink the truth. When we erase story, we erase dignity. We thought we knew what belonged in the narrative. You know I can't leave you, especially today, without saying what's about to happen this evening. In case you don't know, this evening or this afternoon is the Super Bowl. In this year's Super Bowl, the halftime show will feature Bad Bunny. If you don't know Bad Bunny, you better go ahead and start Googling, because you're about to find out. Bad Bunny is the halftime show artist. He is a phenomenal Puerto Rican artist who is unapologetic in performing primarily almost about 90% in Spanish. You learn some Spanish instead of asking him to conform to English. Some celebrate this moment of this halftime performance of Bad Bunny, and others are pushing back, not because of his lack of talent, but because it's disruptive to their familiar expectations of what and who should be on that stage, what and who should go into our ear gates, who gets to police, who gets to say what we hear, how we feel. When something new stands at a center or stands at the center, it exposes what we have grown used to seeing there. And whether it's history being narrowed, leaders being caricatured, or culture being questioned, the pattern is still the same. When we shrink what God has made expansive, we close the room to revelation. Nazareth has grown used to seeing Jesus in one role. They knew a carpenter, and that's what they wanted to see. They knew a 17-year-old with braces and a jerry curl. I did have one. That's what she wanted to see. They see a flag, a rainbow flag, sitting outside of a church, and that's all they want to see. How do we change the narrative? How do we tell our own story and our own narrative so that our voices are magnified? Let me show you something. You know what this is, right? This shoe belongs to my oldest, Casey. Casey is now 15 years old. This was her shoe 4 years ago. Back then, it fit perfectly. We hold it up for you to see. It fit her perfectly. As we can see, it's worn, it's discolored, it's got a little bit of a hole up here. It carried her well back then. Nothing's wrong with the shoe. Nothing is wrong with the shoe. But if she tried to wear it today, it would hurt her feet. It's not because the shoe has failed. It's because she has grown. Did you hear me? It's not because you failed. It's because you have grown. Growth doesn't dishonor the past. It simply outgrows it. Did you hear me? You can outgrow your past. I think we heard it through Celebration Sunday. That what was going on yesterday, what was going on last week, what was going on last month, it sounds like there's something brand new. A few weeks ago, a few months ago, we may have had some trepidation about going to closing, but it sounds like closing happened. A few weeks ago, a few months ago, we were still praying about our child in recovery, but it sounds like it's on its road, it's happening. A few weeks ago, a few months ago, we had that diagnosis, and it sounds like we've got a little bit more clarity. Growth does happen. It doesn't dishonor the past. We don't shame the shoe because it doesn't fit. We bless the season that it serves. And we make room. And we make room. The text that we heard says, he could do no mighty work there. They were talking about Jesus. Jesus couldn't do any mighty work there, not because he lacked power, but because the space was closed. When expectation becomes rigid, revelation struggles to land. And here are the hard questions that I want to give to us this morning, family. Where have we done the same thing? Where have we done the same thing? Where have we decided to understand someone and we just stop being curious? We don't ask any new questions. Maybe we've been with that friendship, that spouse, that partnership, and that work experience for all these years, and we think we know all the things. And we haven't asked one new question, one new curiosity in all this time. Or maybe we've reduced that person to their past, a past version of themselves. Where have we said, that's just how they are? You know how we're at dinner or somebody, or even in a fellowship hall, or we're at any type of gathering, and we're like, that's just how they are. Or maybe even for ourselves, that's just how I am. What have we done to try to expand, to try to think of something completely out of the box? Because I don't think anybody thought that Bad Bunny would be the Super Bowl halftime show. And I'm pretty sure folks are going to say, I can't understand a word he's saying. And that's because we don't know Spanish, some of us. That's not for him to conform. That's not for the shoe to conform. That's for us to grow. Sometimes we are the folks in Nazareth ourselves. We thought we knew. what we were capable of. We thought we knew what this church would look like. We thought we knew what this season would hold. But when memory becomes a boundary, miracles struggle to land. My daughter didn't shrink. And we didn't scold her because she grew. We adjusted. How many of us, when we go to do something new, when we go to continue stretching our faith, looking for answers, trying to make sense out of nonsense, people say, oh, don't worry about it, how are you able to grow, to stretch, to do more, to adjust? Because growth requires room, and healthy things grow. As I take my seat, again, Jesus could do no mighty work there, not because he lacked power, not because they lacked room, but because God has things in mind for us so that we expand our mind, expand our hearts, expand our experiences. May that not be said of us that we are not open. May we not be so certain that we close the door on what God is bringing forward. May we make room for everything. May we make room for everything and everyone. Don't let this be a one-time experience to have a queer black woman from 3,000 miles away come and join you. We thought we knew, but God is not finished. Amen, and to God be the glory.